Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had articulated these ideas many times before in his writings. There has not been, there will not be such benefactors of the highest merit as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees has been. The offer of other benefit is only a deception. It is rather a great harm, whereas the benefit done by him and his followers is the truest and greatest eternal benefit. This benefit is not for one particular country causing mischief to another, but it benefits the whole universe. The kindness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown to Jivas absolves them eternally from all wants, from all inconveniences and from all distress. That kindness does not produce any evil, and the Jivas who have it will not be victims of evils of the world. As Abhay listened attentively to the arguments of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he recalled a Bengali poet who had written that even less advanced civilizations like China and Japan were independent, and yet India labored under political oppressions. Abhay knew well the philosophy of nationalism, which stressed that Indian independence had to come first, and oppressed people was a reality. The British slaughter of innocent citizens was a reality, and independence would benefit people. Spiritual was a luxury that could be offered only after independence. In the present times, the cause of national liberation from the British was the only relevant spiritual movement. The people's cause was in itself God. Yet because Abhay had been raised a Vaishnava, he appreciated what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was saying. Abhay had already concluded that this was certainly not just another questionable sadhu, and he perceived the truth in what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said. This sadhu was not concocting his own philosophy, and he was not simple, proud or belligerent. Even though he spoke in a way that kicked out practically every other philosophy, he was speaking the eternal teaching of the Vedic literature and the sages, and Abhay loved to hear it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, speaking sometimes in English and sometimes in Bengali, and sometimes quoting the Sanskrit verses of the Bhagavad Gita, spoke of Sri Krishna as the highest Vedic authority. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has declared that a person should give up whatever duty he considers religious and surrender unto him. The personality of Godhead, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, and the Srimad Bhagavatam confirms the same thing. Dharma Pojita Kaita Vatro Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. All other forms of religions are impure and should be thrown out. And only Bhagavata Dharma, the performing of one's duties to please the Supreme Lord, should remain. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's presentations were so cogent that anyone who accepted the Sastras would have to accept his conclusions. The people were now faithless, said Bhaktisiddhanta, and therefore they no longer believed that devotional service could remove all anomalies. Even in the political sense, he went on to criticize anyone who was ignorant of the soul and yet claimed to be a leader. He even cited names of contemporary leaders and pointed out their failures, and he emphasized the urgent need to render the highest good to humanity by educating people about the eternal soul and the soul's relation to Krishna and devotional service. Abhay had never forgotten the worship of Krishna or his teachings in Bhagavad Gita, and his family had always worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose mission Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was espousing. As these Gaudiya Math people worshipped Krishna, he also had worshipped Krishna throughout his life and had never forgotten Krishna. But now he was astonished to hear the Vaishnava philosophy presented so masterfully. Despite his involvement in college, marriage, the national movement, and other affairs, he had never forgotten Krishna. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was now stirring up within him his original Krishna consciousness. And by the words of his spiritual master, not only was he remembering Krishna, but he felt his Krishna consciousness being enhanced 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. What had been unspoken in Abhay's boyhood, what had been vogue in Jagannath Puri, what he had been distracted from at college, What he had been protected by his father now surged forth within Abhay's responsive feelings, and he wanted to keep it. He felt himself defeated, but he liked it. He suddenly realized that he had never before been defeated. But his defeat was not a loss, it was an immense gain. The Prabhupada quote. I was from a Vaishnava family, so I could appreciate what he was preaching. Of course, he was speaking to everyone, but he found something in me, and I was convinced about his arguments and mode of presentation. I was so much struck with wonder I could understand here is a proper person who can give a real religious idea. Unquote. It was late. Abhay and Naren had been talking with him for more than 2 hours. One of the brahmacharis gave him each bit of prasadam in their open palms, and they rose gratefully and took their leaves. They walked down the stairs and to the street. The night was dark. Here and there light was burning, and there were some open shops. Abhay pondered in a great satisfaction what he had just heard. Bhaktisiddhanta's explanation of the independence movement as a temporary, incomplete cause had made a deep impression on him. He felt himself less a nationalist mode follower of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He also thought that it would have been better if he were not married. This great personality was asking him to preach. He could have immediately joined, but he was married, and to leave his family would be an injustice. Walking away from the asrama, Naren turned to his friend. So, Abhay, what was your impression?